All right, we're going to talk about the squat a little bit. So there's a lot of fear around the squat. People get concerned that squatting's bad for your knees. However, squatting can be very beneficial for your knees. It's one of our major functional movements. If you look at young children, if you look at Asian cultures where they don't sit in chairs as often, you have people of all different ages fully capable of squatting all the way down, all the way up. And if you just watch, like I said, if you watch kids play, they're just sitting down there in the squat. They've got their blocks and whatever, just where we hang out. So our bodies are designed with this ability to get nice and deep, hips well down below the knees, and so on, keeping the heels on the floor. However, especially in American culture, we sit in chairs a lot. You start going to school as a child, you start sitting in chairs, and then you lose that ability to sit nice and deep. It impacts, what's going on at the ankle, the knee, the hip, into the low back, and so on. So just a couple things here today that you can start to pay attention to and maybe incorporate into your own life. Obviously, use your intuition as a guide. Everyone's body is going to be a little bit different. However, I have had the opportunity to work with people who've had knee replacements, hip replacements, and or chronic inflammation, arthritis type of issues in the joints that have had relief and regained their functionality by practicing these different exercises surrounding the squat. Okay, so the squat sit is what I like to refer to it as. Usually a really great way to kind of do a warm up, introduce that movement to the body, and just to start to get comfortable with it. So especially if you're not someone that's done a lot of deep squatting recently, or you feel uncertain about your joints and such, use something to hold on to so that you can take some of the weight off the legs and support through the upper body. So a countertop, the side of a doorway, what have you. I'm going to just demo here with a chair today. Make sure that anything you are using is going to be stable enough for you. So we're going to set the feet about hip width apart. There's different opinions as far as should the toes be pointing straight ahead? Should we have a little bit of a toe out? In general, a little bit of a toe out. So about 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock on a dial of a clock that are down on the ground is simply going to help open the hips a little bit more. But you definitely want to pay attention to what's going on at the ankle, not letting that foot drop in. So again, I'll set the feet about hip width apart, standing up nice and tall up out of the hips. From here, I'm going to hold on to my support system, and then I'm going to send my hips back, keeping your chest as tall as you can. So you don't want to just dive down here. So chest up. As I sit back, I'm pushing my weight into the heels, but I'm not lifting my toes. I'm also pushing my toes down, keeping myself planted firmly through the heels. And then now you can use your arms as much as you need, but focus on the feet. Push into your feet through the floor to create some force to drive yourself upright again. And then again, nice deep breath, sending the hips back, driving your knees out, not beyond your feet, but so that they stay right over top. Keep it in line with the toes. Shins are vertical, heels are planted. And then I push my heels down, push the big toe down as I stand, okay? And there's a lot of different sources that will just kind of recommend if you don't need that chair, come on down to the bottom, stay tall through your chest, and I'm also holding some engagement through my core. So I'm not a big fan of just slouching down there in the bottom, dropping to the bottom. Stay engaged is an exercise. So you want to use your muscles. And then from here, if you don't need that support, you can reach the arms out in front. That helps encourage that upright posture. Drive into your heels and stand tall. I am a big proponent if you're in a safe area that you can take your shoes off. I like to kick the shoes off because now you're going to get to use all those smaller muscles of your feet to help feel the ground, grip the surface, and that's going to help maintain what goes on at the ankle. Because if that ankle drops in, you drop that arch of the foot, then the knee falls in typically, and it all impacts up the leg. Okay, it's going to just change those dynamics and those mechanics. All right. So from there, squat sit, even if you're not able to do regular ones, spend some time down there. It's going to allow your joints to open. It's going to get more, blood flow, lymph flow, just help that joint to be happier because that knee joint, just as an example, it sits on top of it. Here's your big bone from the thigh. Here's the bones from the bottom of the leg. And those guys, as you squat down, now they start to open. So if you only ever squat to a chair and back up, then it's only going to open so far and close. Versus if we squat all the way down, now this joint starts to open fully as it's designed to do. And then that helps keep your body feeling better. So a lot of times people will have really stiff knees. Oftentimes, if you squat down and up, your knees are going to start to feel better. Sometimes at first it's like, I don't really quite like how that feels. If it feels a little bit uncertain, you got to use that judgment. Is it feeling worse as you move, or are you feeling better as you move, right? So think Tin Man style. We got to get that Tin Man, get those joints loosened up a little bit, get some blood flow going, and then typically that's going to help. All right. And then I just from here wanted to talk about a couple modifications. So maybe you're doing an exercise class. If you're following any of my videos, then I'll demo in some of the basics classes squats to a chair. And I also want to give some ideas on how you could look to start to advance this if you're working at home. So I've got the feet about hip width apart, standing nice and tall. I personally like to kind of come to the corner of the chair instead of it straight on. It just feels better for the positioning. And then I'll sit back, reaching my arms out, controlling back, chest is tall here, and stand. Okay, so squatting or like a sit stand, clearly my hips don't get very deep going to the chair, but at least it's something that you can start to practice with. But then what can I do? If all the chairs in my house are the same height, how can we start to modify this? If we're in the gym, typically we have different size boxes that we can utilize. I'm here in my garage gym, so I only have the one size box, nothing lower than 20 inches. So I can get creative here with a little step stool and some yoga blocks. Maybe you don't have a yoga block, but maybe you have a stack of books that you could stack up some secure books to create a lower surface. And then you can find an in between here, right, where I've got my stack. You want to make sure it's in good position. And then if you need to still hold on to something, put this right in front of your counter, your chair, the doorway. And now we're going to sit back, lowering down, heels stay planted, chest tall, and I'm slightly deeper than my chair. You could spend some time, maybe a few weeks or so squatting to this depth, and then just gradually start to increase that range, increase that strength through a greater range of motion. Now I'm getting a little bit deeper. All right, and if you need the chair, you have it there, pull on, stand tall. Just really focus to not let that chest drop down as you're standing. Okay. And then just as a general with our squats, if you want to use some weights, you could hold a dumbbell in each hand. You could hold a dumbbell or a kettlebell under your chin. And then we're squatting down and standing tall. All right, so that's our main fundamentals of the squat. Try to make a point each day to squat all the way down, all the way up. It's a great exercise that you could pair with brushing your teeth. So in the morning and the evening, assuming that you have that pattern of brushing your teeth twice a day, then introduce that full range of motion depth into your body. Squat all the way down, all the way up before or after you brush your teeth. And if you're like, I'm not going to think about that, write yourself a little sticky note, write that Post-it note. Keep your body healthy, keep your body strong, and keep those joints nice and movable. All right, everybody, keep squatting.